My name is Jeanne. Welcome to Flourish Creatively Podcast number 48. Just really appreciate you joining me for this video, seeing all the things that I am working on crochet and knit wise, and just appreciate each and every one of you. Those that view, give a thumbs up. All my subscribers, new and old, y'all are much appreciated. So I don't have any finished projects, but I do have quite a few whips. The first three that I'm going to talk about are knitting whips, but hang on, because I do have some crochet projects going as well. So let's jump right in. All right, my first project that I want to share that I am working on is my knitted sweater, my first knitted sweater that I have finally, after probably almost a year, at least 8 months of promising I'm going to cast it on, I'm going to start it, I did start it. And this is what it's looking like so far. There you go. So I have done the neck, the ribbing around the neck, and starting on the yoke. It is raglan, so it's worked top down. And so I'm working on the yoke. It is quite a thick material because I'm using bulky weight yarn. I started out with 6mm needles for the ribbing, and it is a knit one, purl one ribbing, and then changed to 8mm needles for the body of the sweater. And I am using this Premier Serenity Chunky yarn. It is a 5-weight, bulky weight yarn. It is called, the colorway is called After Dark, but it is just this lovely olive green color that I think is so pretty. It is, I want to say, there it is. It is 100% acrylic. It's 100 grams or 3.5 ounces, 100 meters, 109 yards. And so that makes it a bulky weight. And as I said, the ribbing calls for a 6mm needles, and the body of it calls for 8mm needles. And so, so things I have put down to talk about. It is the pattern, or I shouldn't say the pattern, the course. It's actually a Knit Your First Sweater course put out by Chandi at Expression Fiber Arts. She partnered with Emily Walton. It is her pattern, and that is what we are using. So far, I have learned how to change needles and even change the cable that I am using in my needles that you can change in and out. Interchangeable, that's a good word for it. Interchangeable needles. I have had to change the length of the cable as well. And I've learned make one. I knit socks and I've knit hats, and all of those have decreases, but I have learned how to do a make one increase. And in fact, my shawl, no, it's actually a cowl, I think is what the pattern is called, that I am doing with my Advent minis. It does have some increases, but not a make one increase. So that was new to me. So when I changed needles, what I did is that I have 2 cables that were 24. So when you put them onto the needles, it makes 24 inches around. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's 60 centimeters. Anyway, I had 2 of those. So all I did was put the 6mm needles on one and then the 8mm needles on the other. So after doing the neck ribbing around the neck on the 6mm needles, I just basically took my 8mm, like if this one was my 6, and then knit with the 8 all the way around. My 6mm needle and cables came out, and I had everything on my 8mm needles. Well, then my 24-inch cable got too short because I've done 2 rounds so far. I think there's one more, so I think 3 total of increases. And I needed a longer cable. So I have gone to a 32-inch, which I'm thinking is 80 centimeters. For those of you that know, I'm not looking at my measurements that came with my interchangeable needle set, but I'm pretty sure that's right. That's correct. Anyway, yeah, because 6 times 4 is 24, 8 times 4 is 32. So anyway, do the math in my head, but I was trying to figure out, how am I going to do that? And so what I did was I pulled so if I have my 24-inch cable, I pulled all the stitches off and changed my 8mm to my 6, and then did it for the other needle, then pulled all those off the needle, changed it for my 8mm for my 6. Then I put my 8mm onto my 32-inch cable, and then just like going from the ribbing to the body, from the 6mm to the 8mm, I began to crochet off my 6mm onto my 8mm. And so, because once that you have done 8, whatever millimeters, in this case 8mm, even if I put these onto without knitting, if I just slip them onto 6mm needles, these stitches stay 8mm because they do all the way around on this cable. This cable is a lot thinner than 8mm, but yet these stitches that are on it stay 8mm. I don't know if I did it right or wrong, if that was a good idea or not, but it worked so far. And now I've got them on to my 32-inch, 80-centimeter cable. And as I said, I have got 128 stitches on. I'll increase one more time to 160, and that should be it for the body. So very excited. It is thick. I don't know how often. I do get cold quite easily, and past that age where women get warm, and I really never did very much. I just am cold-natured, so I might wear it when it's really, really wintry. The thing is here that the houses, you can keep your heat. We keep our house around 67, 68 degrees in the winter, and so I don't really need a heavy sweater. But it will be nice to have, and I am going to Nepal in April, and so I might bring it because I'm thinking it might be pretty cold even in April in Nepal. So we'll see if I can get it done by the time we leave to go on our trip. But I am working my way through. Chandi does say in the videos that come with the course that one of the reasons we are using bulky weight yarn is because she wants us to finish, and there's a lot less stitches cast on with bulky weight yarn. The length goes quicker with bulky weight yarn, and so that was part of her reasoning and part of the design of the course and of the pattern, so that those of us who are just learning how to knit sweaters will get it done. But so excited about the progress so far. And it's really nice because the pattern is done in measurements, not number of rows, I should say. There is a number of stitches you cast on, but as far as when you do your increases, when you're finished with the length, it's all based on measurements. And so we did our first increase when from the cast on edge down was 4. So we stopped doing the ribbing at 2 inches. We did our first increase at 4 inches, and I'm doing the second one at 6. So I think that's right, or the third one. Anyway, but you do it by measurement, and that tells you when to do the increases. And because it is top down, I can put it over my head and start measuring to see if I've done enough increases for my body. So anyway, loving it. So glad that I got that project started. Okay, next one. Oh, that reminds me, because I'm looking at my notes, that reminds me that I actually checked out a book from the library, and it is called, knocking stuff over, it is called Knitting for Dummies. I got this from my library mainly for the section that is Oops, Fixing Common Mistakes, right there, Chapter 7. Fixing common mistakes. I figured, you know what? That is my biggest worry, concern, fear of knitting, is recognizing the mistake I made and being able to fix it. Right now, I recognize when I make a mistake, but I don't know how to go back and fix it. In fact, the sock that I'm knitting my mom, I made a mistake somewhere, and I ended up doing something to fix it, adding a stitch, taking it back away, doing something to fix this mistake, because I had no idea. Did I drop a stitch? What did I do wrong? And why was it looking the way it looked? So I did get this. I'm not sure I will go through the whole entire thing by the time it's due, but I definitely want to look at chapter 7. I mean, they have a chapter like on knitting in the round, which I feel like I'm pretty good at since I make socks, I've made hats, and now I'm making a sweater. So there's some chapters I may not look at or don't necessarily need to look at, but that one on fixing common mistakes was the reason I got this from my library. All right, so that does bring me to my 2 pairs of socks that I am working on. Haven't been as diligent on my mom's socks, but I have gotten more. I think I was barely started on the heel flap, so I have a few more rows done on that, and they just get cuter and cuter and cuter as they go with this little watermelon pattern. So hopefully she will enjoy wearing them. If she doesn't wear them, although she does wear sandals a lot in the summertime. She doesn't really wear tennis shoes, but she might wear a pair of little booties in the summertime and want to put socks on. Otherwise, they'll be ready for her when winter, fall comes back around. Hopefully they'll be ready for her for months before winter and fall, or fall and winter come back around. And I have been working steadily on my second sock, working on the foot portion of that sock. This is Yarnable. Both yarns are from a Yarnable, the subscription box kit, different months, but I thought they went well together. And if I look at my sock that I'm matching, I only have 2 more stitch markers to go before I can start the toe decrease on this one, because I take, as I get to a row or to the stitch count, I take from this finished sock and put on here. So I only have 2 more to go. So those are great on-the-go projects that I work on. In fact, I was in a meeting the other night working on my sock, and the man and his wife that were next to me at the table, he was like, "Are you knitting a sock?" And it was like, "Yep." And he goes, "Wow, that's so cool." So he was quite impressed, which is funny and sweet. So working on those, and I counted them together as my second knitted project, even though they're two. My third one I want to talk about is my washcloth. Seems pretty basic, but I left my washcloths in South Africa with the lady, a good friend of mine. She and her husband live behind, or lived in the cottage on our property, or on our landlord's property. And then I did have a lady that came and cleaned for me, and I gave her some of my knitted washcloths. So I don't have any in my new house, and I've been telling myself I need to, because I love knitted washcloths in the kitchen. I've been using a pattern. It's the moss stitch. But I learned it from Norman at Nimble Needles. And so I was going to go back, and then I came across the seed stitch on YouTube, an example of how to do the seed stitch. And I thought, you know what? Because with Norman's pattern, with the moss stitch, you do the pattern. It's a knit and purl pattern. You do it for 2 rows, and then the next 2 rows you switch it up. And so you'd have to mark off groups of 4, mark off the 4 rows and the groups of 4. And I used to write numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and group them in each of the rounds in 4s, and would write that out because it was a repeat. So I forgot exactly if the repeat, I think it was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or something like that. And anyway, marking them off. Well, with the seed stitch, I don't have to. It's knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. If you do an odd number, it's knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. 1 row repeat. And if you do an even number, it's a 2 row repeat. Because 1 row you start with knit and go knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. The next row you do the opposite and you go purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. But still, it's just alternating knit and purls, and it makes this amazing textured stitch. Now, I still love the moss stitch, but this is really a neat texture as well. And I love the feel of things. Texture is fun to me. It's kind of like a fidget to me, is just the texture. And so I really enjoy the texture of this stitch, but also love the texture of the moss stitch. It's just that this one is easy to sit and do without marking off and making sure you're getting your round repeat. You remember, I'm remembering which round, which row I'm on, so and how many rounds and rows I've done. So I really love it. This yarn is my absolute favorite for washcloths, and I don't have the label. This was just some that I had left over. It is Hobby Lobby. I love this cotton, and this is the colorway Monkey Red. And the label comes with a pattern for doing sock monkeys. But this is the thickest, softest, squishiest yarn. It holds up so well with water. When you get it wet, it is really amazing. I do love Hobby Lobby's. I love this cotton as well for washcloths, but this Monkey Red, it's just a little bit thicker because they're twisting the red and the white around each other. I think it just gives it a thicker texture, even though it's still a 4 weight, but love it so much for washcloths. And so, yeah, working on this so I can have a washcloth in my kitchen, and it's going pretty quick. And so really, really love it. All right. So that brings me to the end of all my knitted whips and crochet whips. So I am continuing to work on my tutorial for my Christmas stocking, and I had finished the back of the leg portion, and now I am almost done. I think I have 2 more rows of the bottom of the foot portion. And so when I get that done, and by the way, this stitch, if you're just seeing my video for the first time, this stitch is the camel stitch or the middle bar half double crochet stitch. And I think it makes a beautiful like faux rib look to it. So I had to make a sock. So I made a big Christmas stocking, and now I'm getting around to the tutorial. So we will, the next part of the tutorial will be seaming up the front of the leg to the back of the leg and the foot. So we'll seam that up, and then we'll put the heel, we'll put the toe, and then down at this end, we will do the cuff to our stocking. So I am making, it is turning out a little bit wider than I planned. I probably did about 2 to 4 rows too many, but that's okay. There's no set measurement. There's no regulated measurement to a Christmas stocking. I have seen, as I was looking them up when I first did this pattern for Battle of the Stitches in December, looking it up, there was no consistency. Some websites would have small, medium, large. Some would have an extra large size. And in some, the extra large was really the large on another website, or the extra large was really huge, and the other sizes didn't really match up either. So basically, I like to do mine about 8 to 9 inches by 20 inches, including the toe. So you have to kind of stop the leg and foot part at 18 inches. And when you do the toe, the rounds of the toe, it will add to about 2 inches. But there's no set in stone. This one is actually going to be 10 by 20, but it may be 10 by 21 because it's wider. That means I'm doing more rounds for the toe and for the heel. And so because I'm doing more decreases, so doing more rounds of decreasing. And so anyway, it is coming along nicely. I'm hoping to have the tutorial out, I'm hoping in March sometime, maybe closer to the end of March. So hope you're excited about that. And yeah, working diligently. That was my word for this year, diligent, working diligently on that. My other crochet project is one I am not going to show you. I am doing part of a shawl swap with 5 other ladies. So there's 6 of us. We're using the hashtag 6spring shawl swap. And we are making a shawl for each other. We are matched up, paired up, so that each of us is making a shawl for someone else, and another podcaster, and these are all podcasters, sorry, I didn't make that clear, and other podcasters are making a shawl for me. Another podcaster would be making me one, and everybody else. So we're mixed up that way. In other words, the podcaster I am making a shawl for is not the podcaster making a shawl for me. It would be a different one. So we're split up that way. But I do want to share with you a little bit about the yarn I'm using, and about the pattern that I am using. So the yarn that I was really looking for was an ombre, or one where it would have long color changes, but very subtle, even if it wasn't all the same color. And the podcaster that I am making a shawl for, her colors that she really likes were blues and greens. So I was on the hunt for yarn with blues and greens. So I went to Knit Picks, I went to Mary Maxim Hirschner's, I went to Hobie, and another overseas online website. Anyway, I found what I wanted actually, or the yarn that I wanted on Hobie's website, but I was so excited about getting started that I didn't really want to wait for it to arrive. And what I was looking for, so a few years ago, I made this shawl, and it does open up. I'm just showing you part of it to get it all to fit in screen. But I made this shawl with, I think it's Yarn Art Flowers or Rose Garden, something like that. Anyway, I loved it, and I loved how the yarn changed very subtly. It's like 4 strands, and so here, like, all 4 would be blue, then it would start having some of the pink, 1 strand of pink, and then it would have 2 strands of pink with 2 blues, and then it got to all pinks, and then it changed back into pinks and blues, the lighter blue, and then it changed to all light blue at the end. And so it, maybe even some white. Anyway, just the subtle color changes were so pretty. And I love wearing this shawl. The cotton, it's very nice to wear almost all year round. Can definitely wear it spring, summer. And so anyway, that's kind of what I was looking for. This is not the pattern that I'm using, but it's the kind of yarn. So anyway, I looked on all these sites, but I was still looking for a combination of greens and blues. I mean, I think she would probably be happy if it was all green or all blue, but I was kind of looking for a combination of green and blues. I get on Amazon, and there it is. And I actually found 3 different ones that went from blue to green or green to blue. It had the combination in them. I asked my husband which one he liked and picked it out. And it is a Yarn Art Flower colorway, not saying the name, but very excited because with Amazon, I made sure that I was getting the yarn in just a few days. It came, and I have already started it, and so excited about it. So the pattern that I am using is called the Lost in Time shawl by Johanna, I think that's how you say her name, Lindahl. And she is from Sweden, and I just took a trip, a few days in Sweden. Johanna, except for the O and the H, is very close to my name. But anyway, I just went on to Ravelry and looked at some patterns. I actually got some inspiration from Kim at Yarning for a Smile. She has a Ravelry queue or favorites list that's got like a lot of patterns in it, and I looked at every one. Obviously I skipped like hats and sweaters or things, cowls, things like that, because I was specifically looking at shawls, and she also had this one in her favorites or in her queue. And it is, when I also searched by hot patterns now, it came up, and I love this pattern. It is a very vintage looking shawl pattern. It is beautiful, and it is a free pattern. It is a free download, and it is absolutely lovely. So I wanted to tell you what pattern I am using. I will put a picture up of the pattern, and I can put it here. And that way you can see kind of what it looks like the way she did it. The picture is not using an ombre yarn. I think she changed colors every few rows or rounds, but it is a really beautiful pattern. So check it out. It is a free shawl pattern, and I am so excited. I have gotten started and I love it, but I probably will not talk about it again until I finish and have sent it off and she's received it, opened it, and has seen it, because that part is a surprise. She does know who she's getting a shawl from. I know who I'm getting a shawl from. That part's not a secret. Now if she watches this, she'll know the pattern. But I'm not telling you who I am making a shawl for, and I'm not showing you anything else as far as what the pattern is looking like with the yarn I'm using, or even the yarn that I am using. So very excited about this. The deadline is March 31st. We are to have our shawls finished and mailed out. I will be doing a little bit of photos and videos of my progress, so that I will put it all together in a video in April sometime. Yeah, so that you can see how it developed and what it looked like at the end. But you can also, either in the description box, you'll see the channels, the names in the channel of each of the podcasters involved. You can check out their channels. You can search on #6 spring shawl swap and see videos up there, especially after March 31st. Obviously, give mail time for packages to get to each podcaster, but in April you should be able to at least search their channels or search on the hashtag and see the videos of all the finished shawls. And yeah, anyway, very, very excited about that. So I do have one other crochet whip, but you will have to check out the Bougie Crochet Wearable series to see how my oversized sweater by Olga Poltava is coming along. I will link my latest one, because it's more of a crochet chat as I work on the oversized sweater, but I'm talking about my plans for the next crochet wearable. So if you haven't seen that series, and if you know Jeanne at On the Hook Crochet and have any insight or suggestions for the next crochet pattern, check out that video. That's it for all my works in progress. What are my upcoming plans? Well, they are more works in progress that are going to be made. March is around the corner, and I am participating in Litsa and Rose's #birthstones cowl. And so with March around the corner, I'm going to be crocheting a new hat with the color inspired by March's birthstone. So I will be working on that. That hat will go to Bumblebee Mountain Outreach, better known as BMO. That is K&K Crochet's charity. And so that will be another cast on, hook on, whatever you want to call it. I am participating in the Christmas extravaganza that K&K Crochet put on in the month of July. I'm excited about that. I will be working on some Christmas projects or Christmas gift projects, so ideas for gifts, but won't show those until the month of July. But I will be working on those. And I hope to be doing Battle of the Stitches in, I don't think I will be doing it. I won't do it March because of the shawl swap, and I won't be doing it in April because of our trip to Nepal, but maybe May or June, I will jump in and do another Battle of the Stitches. And I'm also part of Decade Divas, so excited about my 1970s project. Know what I'm gonna make and need to get all the yarn and the different patterns that I'll be using organized. And so, yeah, excited about that. So that's it. We are now going to move on to our Discovery Bible Study devotion for this podcast. So I have been going through 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 8, all about love, the very famous, I guess, well-known love chapter of the Bible. I've done love is patient and love is kind. I'm now going to do not all, but a lot of the love is not section together. So I was looking at love is not envious. Love is not boastful. It's not conceited. Some versions say arrogant. It's not rude or act improperly. Love is not selfish. I think that's the last one. So as I looked at, and you know me, I love looking up words in dictionaries and just seeing what it says. So love is not envious. Envious in the dictionary says it is a feeling of discontentment with regard to another's advantages. And I was like, that doesn't sound terrible. Just I'm discontented, until I looked at the synonyms. So on my phone, synonyms come in like a dark orange or red. I think it's red. They come in a red, they come in an orange, a darker orange and a lighter orange or yellowy kind of color. They just get lighter. And the darker it is, the more synonymous. So the more of an exact synonym it is. And the synonyms that were in red were hatred, jealousy, malice, and ill will. To me, that sounds a little more than just discontented. And so if you're envious, you're jealous of that person, but you hate that person. You have malice and ill will towards that person. So it's being a little more than discontented at somebody else's advantages. Boastful means to speak with exaggeration or excessive pride. And we have to remember that pride is a sin. It's one of the 7 deadly sins. Pride, especially about one's self. Conceited is claiming a sense of superiority or excessively favorable opinion of oneself, abilities, appearances, that kind of thing. It's egotistic or selfish. And then rude or act improperly means you're impolite, especially in a deliberate way. You're rough with your manners or your behavior towards others. And as I was thinking about it, I thought all of these things that love is not is wrapped up in selfishness. Selfishness is being devoted to one's self, caring only for one's self, egotistical. Paul Tripp says that the DNA of sin is selfishness, that everything can be wrapped up in pride and selfishness, pride in ourselves, selfishness. And we see it in our world so much. You deserve. Do what makes you happy. It's all wrapped up in selfishness. Philippians 2 verses 2-3 said, do nothing out of rivalry or conceit. And there's one of those, love is not conceited or arrogant, but in humility, consider others as more important than yourself. Everyone should look not only to his own interests, but also for the interests of others. Now, listen carefully. I think that the cure for all those love is not, envious, boastful, conceited, rude, being selfish, I think the remedy is humility. But I want you to hear that humility is not looking down on yourself or putting yourself down. It says, consider others more important. It doesn't say you are less important and they are more important. It says just consider them. When you're interacting with people, then think of them as more important. Go ahead and just put them in the place of more important. Their desires, their wants, their needs are more important. Put yours on the back burner for a while. Most people think humility is putting yourself down. Humility is this: modest opinion or estimate of your own importance. It's not saying make yourself less important. It's saying have a modest opinion. Don't go around boasting, speaking with excessive pride. Maybe you do have an important role. Maybe you are gifted and talented in some way. But it's saying don't go around letting everybody know it. Humility is just being courteous, respectful of others, and not making yourself look overly important or really making sure everybody knows just how good or important you are. That's what humility is. It's not lording it over, your position over, being showy or boastful, but honoring other people. In fact, Romans 12:10, the second half of that verse says, outdo one another in showing honor. And I think when we do that, we show love. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope this has been an encouragement. And just know, don't ever forget that these 4 verses is exactly who God is. He has every right to demand, command. He is all powerful, and yet he loves us and is not ever rude or boastful or envious or conceited. He is true love. Thank you for joining me for this video. If you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate a thumbs up and hope that you will join me again when I update you on more progress that I'm making on all of these whips. Maybe I will actually have a finished project. Y'all have a great day, and yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye, y'all.